Welcome Dragon Slayers to Slayer Reef. Today I'm going to go ahead and go over how I built the stand and the cabinetry for this particular stand. Make sure you like and subscribe as I'm going to continue to be putting out videos on my custom reef. That's 8 feet by 27 by 27. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe because not only is there a custom logo on the overflow, but there's also a surprise waiting in the sump as well, so make sure to stay tuned. Let's get into this. So I ordered my kit, I'm using air quotes there, from 8020.net. I actually ordered this directly. My previous stand that I had from that was T-Slot was from a local provider, and they just did not give me the customer service that I wanted or expected. I almost went with Framing Tech, but I decided not to be able to go ahead and kind of customize it and be able to order it honestly in batch by batch. So I ordered the verticals, and then I ordered the long horizontals, and then I ordered the 24-inch interior pieces. So I was able to do it in kind of smaller batches, so it wasn't quite such a big hit on the wallet right away. So here we're looking at the finished product. Originally, I had gone with 36-inch height as far as the inner beams, the vertical beams, I should say. But I actually changed those to 42-inch beams, which I will actually show you here at the end. And the reason for that is because of the different modifications and changes that I made to the sump. So this stand measures 27 inches wide and 40 inches tall. So on to the cabinetry. So what I did is I wanted to make sure that I spaced these different panels correctly. So I actually took the stand outside and placed the plywood sheet on top of the stand to make sure that I had the center cut, the straight line right over the center or kind of the vertical parts of the actual stand. I wanted to make sure that they met up nice, and I wanted to make sure they were nice and parallel. So this is a Festool track saw. By all means, you don't need this. You can just use a nice guide for your circular saw. But the track makes it nice and neat to simply just go ahead and line up a couple of marks on each side of the plywood and gives you a nice straight cut. So because the stand and the aquarium are 8 feet long, it took 2 sheets of plywood to get all 6 panels for the front and the back. So I made sure to label them as they were a little bit different in size, as I wanted to make sure the vertical spacing worked around the overflow and some of the other intricacies of the actual aquarium as well.
So I'm hoping comes off on camera. The lighting might not be so good, but with this method of putting the panel on the stand, I can actually get a pretty tight groove, a tight line in between each of the panels. So that's the front one done. Now to turn the stand over and do the same thing on the back. Now all I did to create these lines is I marked with my square here is the middle of the T-track, so you can see down there the middle groove of the T-track. That's this one that's up under here. I just brought that line over to here so that way I can have a nice tight line for each of the panels. I still got to cut them across on the top, but I want to reference the top of the stand once it's done drying from painting.
So just as I showed you on the front, I went ahead and referenced the same lines at the center of the T-track for the back. So here I am just cutting the rear panels, again making sure to label each of the panels as they're cut, but still making sure that they're nice, square, and tight with those center grooves. Now that I had the panels cut, now I could go ahead and bring the stand back inside. So I enlisted my eldest son, who was struggling a little bit to bring it in, so we were able to get it in nice and safe without damaging the stand or the tile. But luckily he was able to help me with that because I couldn't have done it without him. So now with the stand inside, I want to go ahead and kind of tuck it nice in place. And then I wanted to go ahead and bring the different panels in, one so that I could measure the top, knowing where I need to cut them crosswise, that way I can kind of measure the height of the stand, but also to bring them in, space them out so that I could make the markings for the mounting hardware as well. That will go directly onto the stands and kind of clip into the panels. And ouch! Don't be talking on the phone and walking away. So while I have the panels inside, I wanted to make sure I kind of respaced them properly. So I put some playing cards in there, about 1/8 of an inch. I don't remember exact width, but I think it was like 3 or 4 cards in between the different panels to make sure that I could make the markings for the mounting hardware that's going to be mounted on the inside and on the inside of the actual T-track as well. So now with everything marked out, I am marking my lines and I'm going to cut the tops of all of the different panels to get them to the right size. So once the panels were complete, I wanted to go ahead and start on the actual top of the stand itself. However, talking to the manufacturer of MRC with my sump, we went ahead and made a couple of different changes. I added some reactors. I may have or may have not tried to include a roller mat. And so now I have to reorder some of my vertical supports for my stand that are about 3.5 inches taller, which will give me a very high stand, put the aquarium definitely at eye height. So now what I decided to do is cut these 5-inch strips that are going to make the stand look like a ADA style stand for those freshwater planted tank fans out there. Although this style of stand has carried into many other different avenues of the hobby as well. So either way, cutting the strips here. So I wanted to avoid hardware on the actual panels themselves. So I routed in some finger holes or some finger grabs, if you will, with a nice big chamfer bit, being able to allow some space between the stand and my fingers and the actual panels to be able to grab onto and pull them off the actual hardware. Just wanted to pop in here real quick as I'm doing the editing to mention that I put white carbon fiber wrap on those vertical supports right there. So now it's time to attach the strips to the stand. So I have the top of the actual stand there. Here you can also notice the wider and taller vertical supports within the actual aluminum stand that I have swapped out the other ones for. So this gives me about a 5-inch kind of panel, if you will, and the panels that I had cut originally are going to be underneath and still mounted to this T-slots that you see here. Wider support, taller stand, so definitely should be more than capable in holding this heavy tank. So inside the stand, I got these little attachments from Framing Tech where they are like little black clips that attach to these hard, like little green circles. They attach very solidly and makes it feel very nice. So no use for hinges here. Okay, let's take a look at where we're at right now. First, on the peninsula end, I'm still trying to figure out if I should make a small desk to work off of or make a display for my Biz and Red Dragon pump controllers. It does need to be somewhat accessible, but if you have any suggestions, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Maybe someone can give me an idea I have not thought about. I want to make sure that whatever I decide to do will definitely make the aquarium better. So here's a quick zoomed in shot of the stand and kind of that ADA style I was referring to. Now here's the quick living room side and another end, the peninsula end again. And let's go ahead and take a look at the entryway now and what it looks like when you first walk in the home. It's Christmas time, so some of the Christmas decorations are definitely out and about. So on these bottom doors will be frosted glass to make sure and tie the whole stand together. I have a little chiller section that I'm still debating on whether to have a remote chiller, and definitely the Destaco and the calcium GHL control center as well. This 5-inch trim that we added to the extended height of the stand, my wife liked the idea of having it wrap around that little nook of our little entryway cabinet that I made to house these Destaco reactors. So I'm looking at maybe putting a little shelf here so I can put the CO2 canister above the actual calc reactor. Definitely think that would be a good idea to take it out of the next shelf below. So above that, I have my GHL control center here. I have some really good ideas to be able to do this, so please stay tuned so you can see as I update my stand on those ideas. Hopefully I can make them happen. So here's a fresh coat of white paint that I have added to the actual stand itself. So now I need to go ahead and put some of the equipment back. I'm definitely going to put frosted glass on the bottom, but let me know in the comments below if you think I should put clear glass or frosted glass on the GHL control center, kind of up above at eye level that you see right here by the Dragon logo. And part of me feels like the clear glass would make it look nice and displayed right next to the aquarium. However, frosted glass would make it look more uniform and combined with the rest of the items. So still, jury is still out on that decision, and I'll probably order the glass after Christmas. As you may know from my previous video, I have decided to go with the Zeovit for this build, and I have purchased 2 GHL 2.1 dosers to dose some of the Zeovit products. So in the cabinet is a housing, a chiller now. I'll probably want to have some kind of display for Zeovit dosing containers. I'm still brainstorming about this one, and I have reached out to Sea Dreams to be able to make a dosing container, a Zeovit dosing container here, but they have a long lead time. The shipping would be expensive, so we shall see. So if you have any ideas on what I should do or could do in this display section for the Zeovit containers, please let me know in the comments below. I definitely would love to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching the video up until this point. Make sure you like and subscribe, as next week I'll finally go over the actual tank and sump. Stay tuned.